In our first story, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says it must be the collective responsibility of all Ghanaians to ensure that the country has a register fit for purpose for the conduct of the December 7th presidential and parliamentary elections. Addressing the nation on Monday evening, June 29, 2020, ahead of the conduct of today's voter registration exercise, the president stressed that the election on 7th December must be a Ghanaian election, not a West African one conducted with a voter register of Ghanaians. He, as a result, urged all eligible Ghanaians, that is Ghanaians of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind, to go out and register so that they could exercise their civic responsibilities on December 7, 2020 to elect a government of their choice in a free, fair, peaceful and transparent election. He continued, the government has described as empty propaganda. Opposition National Democratic Congress claims that the military deployment to the Volta region is meant to prevent Ghanaians in neighboring Togo from participating in the voter registration exercise. Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul told a press briefing in Accra that the deployment, which was started way back in March, was to enforce COVID-19 restrictions along Ghana's borders. He said the deployment will remain in place until President Akufo-Addo lifts restrictions and opens Ghana's borders.
We have deployed at the west, at the east, and at the north, and even at the south. What we are doing is to make the people of Ghana safe. And for the 24-hour, I think that, first of all, they did not even get their facts right. They assumed that we deployed only in Volta region, or especially Aflao only. I believe that if they are watching this press conference, they will revise their notes, and they should be bowing their heads in shame, because they lied to the people of Ghana. As we have all been told now, the numbers in Volta region are some of the lowest. In fact, Aflao has some of the lowest. Bogo has more than 45 soldiers. Aflao has about 16. So when you are giving ultimatum, are you giving ultimatum to those in northeast to also withdraw? Those in northern region to withdraw? Those are you speaking for those people as well? What about upper west? So they should withdraw as well. When Tumu people are happy that the soldiers are there. When Boku people are happy the soldiers are there. And as the intelligence tells us, we keep deploying more of them to ensure that Ghana is totally safe.
The defense minister also has been responding to claims the government deployed several soldiers to the border town in Aflao to intimidate residents. The minister says the Volta and Oti regions have the least number of personnel from enhanced Operation Calm Life exercise.
The government of Ghana has deployed in Upper East 8 officers of the Ghana Armed Forces and 199 men. The next region after Upper East is Northeast region. We have deployed 3 officers and 99 men. Now the next region, if you come down south, is Northern region, where I come from. 5 officers, 105 men in Northern region. Oti region. In Oti region, we have deployed in 6 locations. We have deployed 2 officers and 70 men in 6 locations. In Volta region, we deployed 3 officers and 95 men. First one, Aflao, which is the base. Aflao has 1 officer, 15 men, 15. I am giving you these statistics for you to know that there is no agenda against a particular tribe. In fact, if you add the numbers, the Konkombes, which are my tribe, have more soldiers stationed in their place than any other tribe in Ghana. I have an agenda against my own tribe.
Security matters, the Chief Executive of the Northern Development Authority, Dr. Alhassan Suleiman Namzoya, has revealed that The authority under the Infrastructure for Poverty Reduction Program is undertaking 101 projects in the Upper West region. Now, these projects, according to him, cut across education, health, feeder roads, rural electrification, water and sanitation, small dams and dugouts. Also being undertaken ambulances, skill development and markets. Dr. Alhassan made the revelation when he met members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs in Wa.
Board members and officials of the Northern Development Authority, NDA, led by its chairman, Dr. Hakim Wema, first called on the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, before seeking audience with members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs to brief them on the activities they have embarked on the past couple of years.
You are a very influential group, chiefs. And anytime you are moving to do advocacy, especially if it's in Accra, remember to just give us a little notice of it so that we can even guide or direct you as to the areas you must actually be tackling. So that anytime you go to the presidency or wherever in government, they know that these people are coordinated and they know what they want.
Chief Executive Officer of the Northern Development Authority, Dr. Alhassan Suleimana Manzoya, told members of the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs that the biggest project currently being pursued is the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Project, IPEC, which is a flagship program of President Akufo-Addo, cited a $1 million per constituency program.
In the Upper West region alone, NDA is executing 101 IPEC projects as we speak today. And these projects cut across health, education, feeder roads, water and sanitation, small dams and dugouts, rural electrification projects, ambulances, skills development and training centers and markets.
Dr. Alhassan Suleimana spoke of plans to construct the Kamba irrigation dam to aid all year-round farming in the Upper West region.
In this regard, NDA wants to plead with the Upper West Regional House of Chiefs to help impress upon the Minister of Finance and the powers that be to give us the go-ahead to actually start the Kamba Dam project. We are saying so because we have met a lot of roadblocks on the way towards achieving this particular objective. We have tried, my board chairman and myself have been to the Finance Ministry several times to have meetings on this. And we want to urge our noble traditional leaders who are actually stakeholders in development. No development can take place without our traditional leaders, and we want to acknowledge that and also to impress upon you to give us your weight, your traditional powers and traditional weight, so that we can be able to work together to achieve this particular result.
The entourage then rolled out of town to inspect ongoing projects being executed under IPEC. At Pungu, they inspected a 2-unit kindergarten being executed at a cost of 287,000 Ghana cedis, which is 50% complete, before moving to Tendomo in the Wawes district to inspect a rural electrification project being executed by TP Trading Enterprise. The cost of the project is 1.4 million Ghana cedis, and the contractor has 3 months to finish the project.
We have almost finished, but you know, when you finish, you have to do corrections. So that's why I decided by next week, God willing, we'll finish the corrections. If not at the project, you have finished. My other challenge is the people here wanted to get the light, but the light, we cannot connect them. That's one. 2, VRA is supposed to supply them meter, but they don't have meter. And I informed them, but the problem is either we have to buy the meter for them, because what Honorable is saying, that Vice President will come here. If we rely on VRA, he will come here and they cannot get the light. Members of the NDA board and officials were satisfied with the 101 projects that are being executed in the Upper West region. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Both public and private junior high schools in Techima in the Bono East District have received personal protective equipment as schools resume ahead of the 2020 BEC. And some of the pupils shared with Joy News their excitement and their optimism that their safety is assured after receiving face masks and hand sanitizers from government. Now, Anas Sabit has been monitoring the situation.
Junior high schools across the country have resumed after an unusual break as a result of the novel COVID-19 pandemic. We visited some schools in Techiman in the Bono East region to ascertain whether authorities have put in place measures capable of protecting both the pupils and the teaching staff from getting COVID-19 infections. At the Zongo MA Junior High School, headmaster of the school, Mr. E.K. Omari, disclosed to Joy News that enough safety measures have been adopted to ensure safety of the pupils.
Last Sunday, we were called to receive the PPEs for all schools. And we came in this morning and we started sharing the PPEs for them. You can see this is mine. Each teacher receives 2 nose masks and the hand sanitizer.
The school has in place Veronica buckets for hand washing, and temperatures of students are being taken before being allowed into the classrooms.
Before they get to the class, when we come to the school, that is the first thing we have to do. We have to send some of the teachers who are doing this particular duty. So when you come in, you check and you write the temperature against your name before you get into the class.
Alasan Barkisu, a final year student, shares her excitement with Joy News with regards to the reopening of schools.
As we can see here, there are the safety measures which our teachers are taking us through, and we thank the government for this opportunity. In fact, I am very happy when they say that the school is resumed, and we are all praying to God that it will help us go through all these things, then help us to write and pass in our BEC.
The situation is same at the Amiao MA Junior High School. Here, we met the students being taken through safety COVID-19 protocols. Mr. Fosun Sowa Edward is the headmaster here. He tells Joy News that all 48 final year students are in school to begin academic work, and all COVID-19 protocols are strictly being adhered to.
All the students are in. For now, we are 48 in number. We have 30 boys, 18 girls, making 48. They are all here. And the teachers who are supposed to be, of course, the regular teachers are here in their numbers.
Mr. Edward also tells me that all PPEs have been received from the Ghana Education Service, and the teaching staff are poised to help the pupils pass their final exams.
All in all is set. And this time, Mr. Sabit, as you know, we are poised to learn quickly. We have nothing to hide at all. They are not having any fear at all. I think they are prepared enough to go and write the BEC.
For Abdul Jalilu Sani, a final year student here, with the measures put in place, there is no fear being back to the classroom.
School commenced today, and we are very happy with that, because all the restrictions the government gave, we are following it, and we've been given enough of the equipment to be used. We have the thermometer guns, sanitizers, face masks, and the other stuff. So we are very grateful being in school. So I don't think there should be any fear in me being in school, and I'm very happy to be here.
We then visited the Aswach Junior High School, which is a private school. Just like the public schools, they were also provided with Veronica buckets, thermometer gun, face masks, hand sanitizers, and liquid soaps. Mr. Misbah Osman is the headmaster here.
We were invited yesterday at Techima Senior High, and that's where we received our items. The directives: we have a Veronica bucket, we've been given nose masks and a hand sanitizer and one gun thermometer. I think we've given each student 2 of the nose masks and a sanitizer each, as well as the teachers.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
We'll take you to the Ashanti region, where Healthcare delivery at the Ejoso Government Hospital has received a boost with new equipment to facilitate services. Now, portable patient monitoring machine, a maternal delivery bed, 5 wheelchairs and 5 ward screens are all among the package. The gesture from MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is part of activities for Scholars International Day of Service.
The Scholars International Day of Service is an occasion for scholars around the globe to give back to society. Foundation President Frederick Enin says equipment was donated by scholars.
We have been here at the Ejoso Government Hospital to donate medical items to support the hospital, provide quality health service for the people of the community and also all attendees who receive health care from this facility. Our projects are problem-solving based, such that we do background research to ensure that the facility is really in need of these items.
Medical Director Dr. Isaac Bobiche believes items will positively impact community health care.
Taking, for example, the delivery bed that was presented and the patient's monitor. It's one of the critical logistics that every health facility needs. So the impact that it will have on the clients that come here will be very great. That is why we're very grateful for MasterCard KNUST Corporation for their donation.
Program Manager Ifiam Ponsewa says the program is a collaboration between foundation branches in Canada and KNUST. It seeks to raise transformational leaders who positively impact the continent.
Currently, we've trained 750 students, and we would be enrolling 1,500 students more for the next 10 years. As part of their training on the Scholars Program, the scholars are taken through some leadership training to sharpen their leadership skills. We also take them through skills training and entrepreneurial training so that they are able to be equipped with some transferable skills that they can explore when they can explore to set up their own small startup businesses, or also train members of their community so that they are able to have alternative source of livelihood. We also encourage them to give back to their community as part of the benefits that they receive on the scholarship program.
Previous donations have gone to Kumasi Children's Home and a Sakraka community which benefited from water supply system. Some SHS students have also been trained to make liquid soap, tie and dye, and other income-generating initiatives. Meanwhile, the program is accepting applications for brilliant but needy students. Reporter for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Well, that's it for the latest news updates we have here. But we do have more news as we look at what stories are occupying the front, center spreads, and the back pages of the various dailies we have in the studio. But I'll be joined by Gifty Ando-Appiah and Joseph Akabale. Do stay with us. We'll be right back with all these. To do the newspapers, I have to say good morning to you, Antoinette Ofebia Sante. You are a lab technician with the Agomoda Health Center. Agomoda Health Center, just right here. And I have to say that I wish you the blessings of God for the day. But I do have Gifty Ando-Appiah and then also our own Joseph Akabale right on stream. Good morning to the two of you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Roland, just as the many other people you've been wishing and sending messages to on a daily basis.
I've only said one. Because if there are to be many, then I think I need to add one. Gifty, how are you?
I'm blessed. Apparently, I was muted.
Oh, you were? I didn't know that. I think there are some witches in the stream, so don't worry. We've let them loose now, so you're okay. And
next week, I'll be sending my happy birthdays.
Your wishes. Oh,
and my dedications to all the Chichinga sellers in my area.
Well, that's great. You live in an area where they do Chichinga. It's serious, oh.
Of course. I live at Spintex. There are Chichinga joints all over the place.
Oh, no, that's refined. Spintex for that before. Okay, so Gifty will be doing... Gifty, you are doing which one?
I have the Finder newspaper newspaper and Business and Financial Times, BNFT. Okay, should I go with the Finder?
And then Joseph, you're doing?
I'm doing the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Statesman.
Great. Well, Gifty, please, you can start.
Okay, so I'll start with the Finder newspaper. The banner headline, 6 days for each phase. It says EC explains 5-phase cluster system. It comes with a picture of Jean Mensa, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. And of course, beneath that is President Akufo-Addo. And the story is elections in December is a must. There is no other way. President, enough stories on page 5, comes with a picture of President Akufo-Addo. And just beneath that as well is protection of countries' borders is for safety. It's on page 4, and it says it's for safety of Ghanaians, not tribalism, upon Nkrumah. Has something that looks like an advert on the front page of the Finder newspaper. In the center spread is the story about the protection of our borders. Comes with a picture of Kojo Nkrumah with the whole story. And then military must treat the people of Aflao with civility. That's according to the Aflao chiefs. And then COVID-19 free water for Ghanaians ends today. Maybe Akable is not very excited about that story, but you have to start paying your water bill from now. And then another story there is elections in December. That story is on the front page. You find it in the middle center spread. And on the back page is Valentina Minta breaks 100-year record. That's a story that I'm passionate about as well. And NPP confident of another resounding victory. Globe presents prizes to more winners in Kumasi. I think that's it. The Finder also has President direct Auditor General to take accumulated leave, and GNPC's KK Sapon commence COVID-19 private sector fund for impressive progress on Ghana's first infectious disease facility. That's the 10 CD challenge, which is really cool. So that's it for the Finder newspaper. I have the BNFT. Shall I go on, or do we do something else?
Yeah, do that one, and then we'll come to you before we go to Joseph.
Okay, so BNFT banner headline: Bank of Ghana confident of stable CD despite 2.4% depreciation. Story is on page 3. MSMEs can offer economy more, but government's effort required. And then CH Foundation donates $100,000 to the COVID-19 private sector fund. Very interesting story. About time we started to retrack, the money with that fund as well. We've been having conversations about it. Then another story is boost for cocoa's future. Muscle readies for 12,000 youth to take over from aging farmers. And Kiapa Cocoa Cooperative loses majority shares in UK's Divine Chocolate. Still on the BNFT, 692,000 young people to benefit from COVID-19 recovery program, and integrity fundamental in accounting profession. So those are the headlines we find in the BNFT and the Finder newspaper.
Okay. And let me come to the studio, do a couple, then I'll go to Joseph. I do have on the front page of the Daily Graphic, voters registration begins today. Exercise to last 38 days, has an attached picture of Mrs. Jean Mensa, the chairperson for Ghana's Electoral Commission. I know the Daily Graphic is a paper that is widely patronized. A former boss of mine, Nanaya Jim Fikesi, managing director of the Road Safety Management Services Limited, always likes to read this. Without this, his day is never complete. Go out and register. President urges Ghanaians, and that also follows that story. It was just back to back yesterday, as if we're having some songs being played by Alexis Bill. After that press conference, the president also followed with that nationwide address. What a way for us to end our evening. JHS 3 students are also back in school. It's occupying the front page of the Daily Graphic, and there's some latest on our COVID cases. 17,000 in excess, Recoveries and discharges, 12,000. And then we do have deaths, 112 so far. Electoral Commission 2020 Voters Registration Exercise Movement Plan. The phase 1 has been published in pages 22 to 59 of the Daily Graphic. So you grab a copy, you get to know. You can also get all that on myjoyonline.com. All those updates are there as well. Women in Agric receive 2.5 million Ghana cedis from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. That's on the back page of the Daily Graphic. And then we do have the Ghanaian Times. Also on the front page, the story about the voter registration exercise beginning today. The president is also up there. It's not only about what he said regarding the Electoral Commission, but also that directive coming from his office, Auditor General, to take accumulated leave. It's received some mixed reactions so far, not only in the public space, but also in the media. NDC Volta MP's caucus demands immediate withdrawal of military personnel, but the defense minister came up straight away. Just about 30 minutes or an hour after that news conference. Military deployment not to intimidate residents, he clarifies. He went on to extensively tell us which number of personnel of our military have been deployed at which border post and then which towns. So it makes it easy for you to get to know where they are and, well, how you can navigate your way through possibly. EC deploys 44,000 officials for registration exercise, and also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. Joseph Akable, you have the Statesman, and then the Ghanaian, oh, I did the Ghanaian Times for you, sorry.
Yes, I'll do just the Daily Statesman. The front page of the Daily Statesman, it has the story about the Auditor General says a president directs Dumelobo to take his accumulated leave, and the EC election that's December election is for Ghanaians. That's according to the president. Then government has no agenda against any tribe is coming from the defense minister, Dominic Initiwo. And still on the front page, it has the notice of the compilation of the 2020 voters register. And so it appears the EC is quite big on putting this information out there to ensure that people go out there to register. The back page of the Daily Statesman has this story about Liverpool boss saying fans must wait to celebrate together. And Real Madrid top of the La Liga after beating Espanyol, also on the back page of the Daily Statesman news, Paroland. Well, and the Daily Guide, the Finder, all of them have stories on the new voters register. So too do we have for the Enquirer, but slanting towards more of the NDC. NDC giving a Akufo-Addo ultimatum to withdraw the military, and the Dispatch also has a number of these stories as well. Military deployment, bow your heads in shame. Nito will blast NDC over 24-hour ultimatum. In a pick, the two of you, let me start with you, Gifty. The head of our security desk.
Well, I have a number of picks. Well, I'm getting the indication that my internet is unstable. I hope it works this time and we don't get it truncated along the line. But with this military deployment, I can say for a fact that way back in, I think, March or April, I can't really remember, but I think last year when we did the story on the porous borders, we knew about Operation Conquered Face. So I can say for a fact that that was a program that was already going on. What I didn't hear in the Volta region, though, is the presence of the military. I knew there was military presence in the up north, but I didn't know about the Volta. It is true when government says that it's been going on. What I don't know is what influenced the presence of the military in the Volta region. And of course, the government particularly disappointed that in this day and age, we're still having conversations about politics that ropes in tribalism, even though we know the deep problems that this creates for us as a country. Unfortunately for us, our politics is so embedded, deeply embedded in tribal politics, whether we like it or not. And I was hoping that in 2020, we would have seen the way forward. So when the NDC held their press conference and listed the government's, what they called the government failed promises or the manifesto assessed the way to go for politicians. And then, so when they did the press conference, they Ministry of Information also came up and talked about, brought the manifesto and put it side by side, juxtaposed it and told us what they think they have done, etc. That, what everybody said, was the way to go with our politics, back into the tribal politics, which doesn't help anybody, which only inflames passion, and which only makes it very difficult for us to be able to resolve conflicts, which is inevitably some way, somehow, a part of elections, especially in our part of the world. So I am particularly disappointed about that, and I'm hoping that these politicians will sit up and look at the bigger picture, the national interest. I mean, I can look at that's the ideal picture. Hopefully we'll get there, but it might take, I just wanted to comment on it, that it's not a good thing the way we're having the conversation, and I'm hoping that we'll do the right thing going forward. If there are concerns by the residents of military brutality or targeting any persons, by all means, we should deal with it. But I think that we should move away from this tribalism and how we've come.
Charlie Gifty, that's the head of our Defense and Security Desk.
I don't know if I should go ahead with what really is my take, Roland. Do I have your permission?
No, wait, okay. You want to have a bite?
Okay, so there's a story that seems insignificant. Okay.
Yeah, Roland, and so the issue with regards to the registration, I mean, I think as we are commenting today, those who will be participating, we are clear in our minds what the process is. We know that you need a passport, or a Ghana card. Alternatively, you can get 2 individuals who are registered voters to validate that you are indeed a Ghanaian. I mean, I think it's a straightforward process. And what causes the tension sometimes is that people go to these registration centers and they try to say that, okay, this person is not a Ghanaian, this person is not a Ghanaian. There's a challenge avenue available. And so we want to see people using the channel avenue and not to just simply stand there and look at someone and say, this person is not a Ghanaian. And as the lawyers have said time and again, someone not being a Ghanaian is a question of law. It's not something that anyone can look at another person and conclude that the person is not a Ghanaian. And so we must ensure that we use the challenge process that is laid down and not people shouting at each other at those centers, because especially in the areas where there are already tensions like the Volta region, because of their feeling that soldiers have been deployed to prevent people who are legitimately Ghanaians from registering. Our outsiders believe that they are actually there to prevent persons who are not Ghanaians from registering. So there are 2 ways to look at it, and we expect that they use the challenge process. We obviously have our reporters dotted in various parts of the country to monitor the exercise, and that is the expectation. And I think if that is carried out following the procedure, we should have a peaceful registration exercise, and hopefully over the period that the EC intends to undertake this exercise, we'll be able to register as many Ghanaians as possible so that we all get onto the roll and make our voice heard on December 7th.
Well, it's I know that it's become a very important but a thorny issue. I think that as a country, we've all have failed. We have ROPA. The ROPA grants us the opportunity to be able to enrope everybody in to be part of the electoral process, and then to be a registered Ghanaian and vote at a time when we want to have elections of such a nature, whether the person is around the country or its borders, but just resident outside. It makes it easier. And I was thinking that if the political actors wanted this to be a feature where we're going to avoid all this confusion, then the implementation of ROPA should have become a central feature of all the advocacy relating to this very election. Then that would have resolved all the difficulties that we're having currently with who is a Ghanaian, relating to how we do the crisscrossing along our borders. When you're far off from the borders, that is no argument. But when we have Ghanaian citizens who are elsewhere in Togo, or you may find them in Burkina Faso or Cote d'Ivoire, it becomes a thorny issue because we know that proximity becomes an important issue. They can easily crisscross. So when you send troops closer to the border towns, especially even though there's COVID, but closer to a registration period, their tongues definitely will start wagging. But at the end of the day, I believe that perhaps a better stakeholder consultation would have improved the commentary or the position that many of these political actors or the politicians have taken in relation to this. But we have to be...
I think we generally have challenges with consensus building, because if we had built the consensus that we wanted to register, I mean, by now we would have channeled our energies towards how to carry out the process in a manner that is safe for all of us and ensures that most of us get onto it. But there's always the disagreement. On the other hand, if we had decided we are not going to do it at all, we could have focused on other things as well. And so it's the failure to build a consensus that drags everything, and eventually we get off to an acrimonious start and it affects the entire process. Hopefully things change, I mean, but it's just a hope.
Talking about consensus building, Akable, political scientists and other social scientists have said that in an election where the stakes are high, especially in African elections, you would not, one of the things you will find rarely present is consensus. You will not find consensus. What you can do is work on processes that helps you come to a compromise. So you can reach a compromise rather than build consensus. So I guess if we have focused on it, because we're looking at the perfect picture, which we can't get. So we need to get to the compromise. Like you said, we seem to me like we started on the wrong footing, but hopefully we'll be able to re-engineer ourselves and correct the mistakes that we've made going forward and get the right things.
Again, just another hope, I guess.
Okay, Roland, shall I go on with the BNFT? Okay,
yes,
that's actually I have a take.
Okay, please
go ahead. I have a take in the BNFT.
Right, go ahead. Gifty, I'm waiting for you.
Okay, so it looks like an insignificant story. It's in the BNFT. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Gifty.
Okay. So, okay, sorry. Gomez was telling me that my internet is 1 Ghana cedi bundle. But anyway, so in the BNFT, there are two stories that seem contrasting to me. So there is a big headline that says, "Boost for Cocoa's Future. Maso readies over 12,000 youth to take over from aging farmers." Then right beneath that story, there's a story that says, Kiapa Cocoa Cooperative loses majority shares in UK's Divine Chocolate. And if you read the first paragraph of the story, it tells you how a wholly owned cocoa cooperative is losing its interest to a German company. I think it's worrying. It's military deployment. It's not the registration, but I think it's an area we want to take already young people and getting them into agriculture. We're talking about boosting our cocoa industry, which is one of the biggest cash cows we have as a country. And then in 2020, when people are talking about better stakes for our farmers, and giving our farmers, making our farmers better off for the hard work they put in, we're talking about a wholly owned cocoa cooperative losing its shares to a German company. I'm not sure we are really serious about this conversation. And if we want to go by the president's talk about Ghana beyond a gradually till we get to the top, it's something that caught my attention, and I thought that I should bring it up.
Well, my
final take will be Daniel Domel, an Auditor General, where yesterday I spoke to the GI, former head of the GI, Vitus Azim, who said that, Okay, go on.
No, in relation to the cocoa industry, in 2019, there was a joint cocoa conference that was convened by Ghana and Ivory Coast. And if you take our two productions combined, we're the biggest producers in the world. Of course, in Latin America, we have Brazil also focusing and getting an edge. But the worldwide industry is capitalized or worth 100 billion. And Ghana gets about 2 billion, 2.5 billion. Cote d'Ivoire also just gets the same. So in total, we get about $5 billion. But the people who don't grow the cocoa, the countries that don't grow the cocoa, they add the value and they make the money. So it's even sad that this has become a talking point this morning, when we do know that we can do more to add value to the industry that we have. It's just a very sad commentary about our state.
Yeah.
Joseph.
I just thought I'll bring that to our attention whilst we do the military and the EC that overshadows all these little stories. I just thought I'll give it a bit of a highlight. If I can go on with my final take so that my internet doesn't mess up once again, it is the Auditor General's story. The Auditor General story. I mean, you're talking about two wrongs not making a right, because we see in the story the presidency referring to what happened under John Evans Atta Mills, how someone was asked to proceed on leave. But in this country, okay, my painting just fell. But in this country, when you're saying proceed on leave, we know what that means. Okay, we know that it means that someone wants to get you out. And yesterday we did speak to the board chair who indicated that they've been asking this man to step aside and go on leave. And he's been adamant. So they decided to write to the presidency. We all know, I can't even belabor the points. I'll perhaps leave it to you. But we all know what this looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like. And unfortunately, the leave days are outstanding. You have to proceed on leave as well. So it's two-edged for me. Why do you stay and accumulate your leave over 100 days? I mean, I don't think it's okay. But then why do you also ask someone to proceed on leave when obviously the person is taking up cases which, looks like things that he's standing up against people in government. So it looks very clear as if there's a grand plan to get him out, especially since we have a few months to the election and all of that. That's what I'm saying. It's a two-edged thing. And we as a country are really doing ourselves a lot of disservice if we continue to go along this line.
Joseph, you want to have a 30 seconds bite on this before we go for a break?
I think government just gave the opposition parties and CSOs ammunition, and confirmation for what they had feared and complained about, that there was a grand scheme to have Mr. Domelo removed. Why does someone have to take more than 100 leave days at the same time? We all go on leave. It's spread out, even if he has to even take that number of days. And so this is not in the interest of government at all. And it's quite unfortunate. And we know that the other public officials who have also have accumulated leave. And this is someone who has been at the forefront of corruption. There may not be an agenda, but it just doesn't look good for the government image in terms of how it is reacting to someone who is seen and loved by many as a key campaigner, anti-corruption campaigner. And we hope that, let's find some resolution. It's not the very best at all.
Resolution. Not too sure whether there'll be a resolution to this. I just hope that he survives this missile this time around. It's just 123 days. I'm hoping that in 123 days' time, which will mean by just a week or two away from the election. We all know what is coming. But we're all laughing about it, and we shouldn't be laughing, shouldn't we? Well, we have to.
Why not? We can't keep ourselves. We have to laugh off some of the difficulties we find in our Ghanaian politics.
I know, right? We're already frustrated with COVID, so what do we have to do? Well, thank you, Joseph Akabley, and then Gifty Andrew-Appiah. I wish you the best for the day as well. It's another working day, so we'll see how all of you take yourselves through once again, one day at a time. But in the meantime, wherever you're watching us, we say get interactive. We have Facebook Joy News on TV. We also do have our Twitter handle at Joy News on TV. You can get all the latest updates through myjoyline.com, and Joy News TV is our regular YouTube channel where you get live streams and talking about all the things that you need to go. We have to break and go for sports. Again, good morning to you, Nanaya Jemfikese, Managing Director, Road Safety Management Services Limited. I wish you all the best for the morning. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with sports.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to the sports segment here on AM Show. I'm Benedict Owusu. Always a pleasure joining you on this platform. This morning, we have a lot to talk about here on the local scene. And of course, it's all about Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Some key decisions have been taken with regards to the direction of the club. And what are we hearing about Nana Amponsah that someone very close to the Manshia Palace has mentioned that Nana Amponsah is off the CEO job because of something. Well, my colleague Calvin will join me pretty shortly to tell us more about that. Also on the international front, we look at what's been happening in the English Premier League. Last night, one game was played. Jordan Ayew's Crystal Palace were at home and they lost their second game in a row. They lost to Burnley by a goal to nil after playing very well in that game. Jordan himself did very, very well, but still they lost by a goal to nil. So what it means is that they've lost 2 games in a row. We'll try and show you highlights of that, and also build on what's going to happen in the other leagues with specific attention on the Spanish La Liga, because tonight there's a big game. Atletico Madrid, Thomas Partey's Atletico Madrid are up against Lionel Messi's Barcelona. You know, they are still in the race for the Spanish La Liga title. So 2 points between them and leaders Real Madrid. Can they close the gap? Or try and explore that as well. So we have to start here on the locals. You know, of course, that came out was that they added 3 more people to the board of directors, making 12 now. Initially, the Asante Otumposi, to life patron and owner of the club, announced the 9-member board, which Dr. Kwame Chei, former executive chairman, was going to head, and he is the head of the board. So let's quickly go to Kumasi and speak to Kelvin Owusu-Ansah. Kelvin, thanks so much for joining me this morning. First of all, I want to find out from you, who are these 3 men that have been included on the board? Okay, Kelvin, your microphone is mute, so if you can please unmute it. Yes, I can hear you now. So who are these men? I was asking that, who are these men that have been included on the board?
Well, that is that Michael. There have been a number of people who have been added. 3 people invited onto the board now for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and the first person comes in the person of that is Michael Losei Kweku, and then they have that is Kofi Amwa Aban, and also the final name coming in from Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
Yeah, James Osebones, right? Ouch, that's so bad. We lost Calvin there. We'll try and re-establish contact with him. But of course, he was mentioning the names of the people that have been added to the Asante Kotoko board. He already mentioned Kofi Amwa Aban, and then Martin Osei Kububi, as well as James Osei Brown. So these are the 3 men that have been added to the Asante Kotoko board. And what it means is that they are now 12. They've added up to the already 9 that were appointed a few weeks ago, with Dr. Kwame Chei acting as the board chairman. There are a lot of news coming from the Kumasi Asante Kotoko camp, so we'll definitely we'll get Kelvin back so he tells us more as to what's happening there. But a lot of deals have also been completed, and in the transfer window. Before we talk about that, let's quickly. Okay, so we have Kelvin back. Kelvin, so yeah, you were on until your technology failed us. Please unmute your microphone. Please unmute your microphone.
All right. So the names are Mr. Kofi Amwaban, who is that is the founder and CEO of Rigworld Constructions Limited, and then we have James Osei Brown, also from Joshua Construction, and then the final person, Martin Osei Kweku, will be managing director for Leicester Ghana. So these are the 3 people that have been added to the Kumasi Asante Kotoko board to make it 12 members, and this was announced yesterday by the special assistant to the chief of staff, Kwame Abuaje Mensah, on Pinso FM. So now we have 12 board members for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, and he made it very clear that to show up and the financial strength and muscle of Asante Kotoko.
Okay, so they already announced 9, and then 3 more are in. What do you think of the decision to get these 3 guys onto the already 9 members?
Well, you look at the 9, you look at the already 9, and most of the personalities in there, well-known, well-vexed in corporate governance, and it is understood that in order to prevent the one-man show, which initially happened during Dr. Kwame Chei's time, by just one single person dominating that is the financial contributions to Asante Kotoko. It is just to break that sort of monotonous contribution and add more people in Asante Kotoko. So it's just to strengthen the financial muscle and also at least ease that burden on the few people who have always been seen as contributors to Kumasi Asante Kotoko when it comes to financing.
And what did the man, what's his name again? Kwame Abuaji-Mensah. What did he say about the Nana Amponsah?
Well, Benedict, we all know it happened last week after the meeting on with the board on Thursday. On Friday, we had documents of the development plan of Nana Amponsah coming out, and it was spread across all the media signals. And it looks like the Menchia police is not happy with it, that after just a meeting with the board, that statement or that policy document is out, and it's they feel that it's an inability to keep secrets with issues regarding Asante Kotoko. So just like it happened to Samuel Osei-Kuffour, and Kwame Abuaji-Mensah made it very clear. He stated it yesterday on Opimso FM that he should take cue from what happened to Samuel Osei-Kuffour 4 years back when he was close to being appointed as the president or CEO of Asante Kotoko, and that Menchia cannot work with anybody who cannot keep secrets. But some of us also find it a bit weird. Once a mandate is given to the board, why should there be another dominance from Menchia with regards to the board having their own ways of appointing their CEO? So this was exactly what happened. They are just not happy with the news that came out. And it wasn't just about Nana Amponsah, about the former CEO, George Amoakon's news of his salary being unpaid. They were clearly not also happy with that news that also came out yesterday. So he made it very clear that the secrecy within the team and the leakages in communication and those gaps must be seized, must be sealed, and that is what they feel they are unhappy with Nana Amponsah. But some of us still have it a bit weird.
Yeah, very, very weird, because I'm just wondering that, I mean, if the man is coming there to work and there are things that he's put down, if he comes out, what's the big deal? It's the work that he's coming to do. So what is this thing about he cannot keep a secret?
And for me, it surprises me because when this comes out, this is a policy document, and it can appraise, it can be appraised, it can be amended. And if the board feels that Nana Amponsah is not the best person, I'm sure they would have their own way to select another person to deal with. And this is more like a headhunt. It's not like they went into a competition or they went into a contest where there were several others competing him, and then he had to come out to say that Kumasi Asante Kotoko were just given him that role. It comes as a bit of a surprise. I feel the board should stand firm when they meet the chief of staff of Menchia, Kofi Bedu, to make it clear that this is the man we want. We feel he can do it, and this gap or this issue that has come out, or the document that has come out, shouldn't be a basis for us to do away with him. And Benedict, we should also know that Nana Amponsah hasn't come out to confirm whether he gave the document out, because some of us look at the documents and it looks like pieces of several other documents that have come out earlier with regards to people planning their own policy. Some have come from Muni Wahi Haj. We've had some coming from Dr. Musapun, former policy analyst for Kotoko, and some other Kotoko supporters groups. So some of us also have that document a bit. We cannot find the authenticity of the document because it looks like pieces of it put together to make it that 33-page document. So we are still waiting on it. But once the board hasn't come out to complain that Nana has come out with a document, I think this shouldn't even be a news. And for some of us, it looks like the interference from Menchia, which has time and time again affected Kotoko stability, gradually, yes, it's already trickling in.
Kevin, thank you very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate that. But I mean, that announcement by the man, that's what you meant.
So I urge all eligible Ghanaians, I repeat, all eligible citizens, that is Ghanaians of 18 years of age or above, and of sound mind, no matter what party they belong to, if any, to go out and register so that they can exercise their civic responsibilities on 7th December to elect a government of their choice in a free, fair, peaceful, and transparent election. Using your God-given and constitutional rights costs nothing, but staying home can come at a very steep price. The pandemic notwithstanding, we have to strengthen Ghanaian democracy. It must be our collective duty to ensure that we have a register that is fit for purpose in December. And we must all make sure that persons who do not meet the requirements as set out clearly in the Constitution do not find their names into the register. If you aid the registration of an ineligible person and you are caught, you will face the full rigors of the law. The election on 7th December must be a Ghanaian election, not a West African election, conducted with a register of Ghanaian voters. That is the only way the true will of the Ghanaian people can manifest. It is crucial that both the registration exercise and the electoral process itself be conducted in an atmosphere of peace and security, devoid of intimidation and violence. 8 in the Volta region, 72 in the Oti region, 69 in the Upper West region, 64 in Bruno region, 21 in Savannah region, and 14 in the Western region. Let me state, without any form of equivocation, that these deployments are not in any way intended to prevent or prevent Ghanaians from registering to vote in December. They are there for their express purpose, which is to guard our borders. That is the limit of their remit, and they will not be permitted to stay beyond that remit. I'm fully aware, like the military commanders, of the sensitivity of their deployments at this position in our history, and I'm confident that that sensitivity will be fully respected. I have no interest in disenfranchising any eligible Ghanaian from registering in tomorrow's exercise, nor am I interested in any improper machinations to win any election. I've spent my life fighting for free democratic institutions in our country, and I'll continue in that fight for the rest of my life. The idea of being a president who emerges from a rigged election is abhorrent to every fiber of my being. I want to continue to be the president of a Ghanaian people who have given me their free consent with the blessing of the Almighty.
Practice, all registration centers will be set up outdoors in open spaces, where schools, churches, and other such venues are used as registration centers. We will not set camp inside the school or church buildings. Our registration centers will be set up in open fields and open spaces outside the school and church buildings. We will not use the school or church furniture. We will use the Electoral Commission's furniture and set up for use as registration centers. This has been our policy and practice in times past and will remain so. As an added measure, our furniture and our fittings will be continually wiped with alcohol wipes. Other COVID-19 preventive measures that will be observed at all registration centers are as follows. All people entering the registration center or queuing to enter the registration center would be required to wear a nose mask. On arrival at the registration center, every person's temperature will be taken using a thermometer gun. Persons with temperatures above 37.8 degrees Celsius will be directed to the health personnel at the registration centers or the nearest public health facility. Special arrangements will be made for them to register. The Commission will provide liquid soap and water with Veronica buckets for the mandatory washing of hands before joining the queue or entering the registration center. There will be strict adherence to physical distance of at least 1 meter in the queues at all centers. Our fingerprint scanners will be cleaned prior to the capturing of fingerprints of applicants using alcohol wipes. Hand sanitizers will be provided for the mandatory sanitizing of hands when leaving the stations. It is important to note that the Ghana Health Service has released some 7,000 health assistants to each of the registration centers nationwide. It is expected that the health assistants will assist us in ensuring strict adherence to the safety protocols outlined by the Electoral Commission.
And we know what the numbers are. Over 33,000 of these stations, and they are going to move in phases. So ultimately, if you're one of those over 40,000 registrants or officers going to take part, whether you're a data entry clerk or you're a laminator or you're somebody who ultimately is supervising, you know what you have to do. And well, if you go to myjohnonline.com, you go to the inside pages of the daily graphic from pages 22 to 59, you get to find how the movement is going to be like. But ultimately, it's the start of the new voter registration process. We have deployed across the country en masse various reporters and correspondents who are going to feed us with the latest they're getting, what the atmosphere is, where the sights and sounds are when it comes to the registration centers in all the 33,000 registration centers we have across Ghana. And it's where you can get the relevant update. We'll go to first our political scientist, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a senior political science lecturer, the political science department of the University of Ghana. We'll start the conversation, then we'll go to our various correspondents across the country. But Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, a good day for all of us. We've been looking up to this day for a very long time, haven't we? If you can unmute your sound, it would also help. I believe that your sound is muted.
Yes. Is it okay now?
Yes, it is. Please go ahead.
Right. Yes, it is good that we have arrived here. I believe we are going to move on smoothly and then conduct the affairs that need to be conducted so that we get the process right for the elections.
If you look at what the related issues and conversations have been until the Electoral Commission and the President came to do the briefing, you would say that there's a little tension still in the air.
Oh, definitely so. In elections, these things are to be expected. You get people who are overexcited. You get people who also have concern to express. You have those who are also serious about the business. So as an environment of views. So at this time, these things are to be expected. Yeah.
What should we be looking out for? We as observers, as media, even though we have experience on our side, you have practiced journalism now, you're a lecturer in political science, you're also a consultant across board and doing the publications. What should they be?
The Electoral Commission, now that the road is clear for it to work, what they need to do is to be able to register people and register properly. What do I mean by this? We don't want a situation where at the end of the day, we are done with the registration and these ritual of bloated register phenomenon comes to haunt us. We don't want that. We want a registration that will end all those issues once and for all. 2, we want to register, but we are also mindful of the fact that the disease is around with us. So the Electoral Commission must take seriously the protocols regarding COVID-19 and then balance it with how to register the people without them getting infected in one way or the other. This is the task that is ahead of Electoral Commission to be able to perform and perform well.
If we look at how the training has gone, there will be a constant consternation among those who have looked forward to elections across board that, look, perhaps we need to have a proper way forward by looking at the timelines, the concerns that have been raised about it being closer to the main election than the usual periods that we've seen.
Yes, the Electoral Commission has assured us that there is no cause for alarm. So you and I have no problem about it at all. It is their duty to live by their promise. That is what we expect for them. Nothing more, nothing less. We expect that.
The times have changed. From the early years of the 2000s, when you and I witnessed those elections, 2004, when the day where technology has become an integral part of daily living. And it looks like the Electoral Commission wants to do this. Ultimately, how do we balance the old order and the new order?
Yes, we are in a different environment. So the environment dictates what we should do at this point in time. Now, you know, because of COVID, there's not going to be face-to-face campaign. So people are going to use the media as in the modern media and the old media, balance it to be able to reach out to people in terms of their messages. Electoral Commission also has introduced a lot of things into the process that will also facilitate the process and make it better for us. So we expect that all in all, the Electoral Commission should be able to do its best.
If you look at the highlights of what has transpired over the last 12 months, where if not 12 months or let's say 18 months, so to speak, starting from the Ayawaso West Wogo, which will not be the first time where in an election period we've seen some extreme violence or provocations. How is that going to play on the mind psychologically of the would-be registrants or voters?
Yes, it is the duty of the Electoral Commission to make sure that we have free, fair elections. And one of the cardinal points in free and fair elections is that we provide adequate security when registration is going on. It is the duty of government to support the Electoral Commission with adequate security so that what we experience at Ayawaso will not occur here. And because once you begin to have such evils rearing their ugly heads into the podcast system, it takes away the confidence that people have in the system, and it throws the election into all manner of problems. We don't want that. I believe the Electoral Commission has learned from all these examples and will be able to step up its game.
There's a great debate until now about who a Ghanaian is, and the president somehow, whether it's coincidental or perhaps emphatically, did say that in his speech, that the election needed to be a Ghanaian one and not a West African one. What's your reading of that statement that the president made?
I think listening to the president, he was just expressing some sentiments about the fact that some people come from West African sub-region, as it were, to vote in Ghana and all that. So this time around, all measures are put in place to make sure that we don't get such individuals into our registration process. That is, to my mind, what the president tries to put across. It is the duty of the Electoral Commission to make sure that those people we get on the roll who will go and vote in December 7 are nothing but Ghanaians. So they should be able to ensure that we get Ghanaians into the register. But we should not also do it in such a way that we ward off Ghanaians who are legitimately Ghanaians, who are Ghanaians by law. Will prevent them from registering, and that will mean that we are going to disenfranchise them. We should avoid that situation and create an environment where Ghanaians will be able to get to the registration center, register without any fear or intimidation whatsoever.
That criticism of the whole process up to now, especially from the opposition, and even prior to the opposition airing their views from Imani and the rest of civil society about a likelihood of disenfranchisement because of the processes, perhaps processes that could have been made away with. Is that a possibility from the point of the political scientists?
Oh, every time there's election, these issues come up. And unfortunately, we have not, as a state, been able to deal with it head on. I believe that the time has come for us to look at this carefully so that we can handle it well, so that all the fears that people have with regard to these issues will be wiped off. It is the duty of the Electoral Commission, once again, to make sure that we get the right people to register so that all these blame game will be a thing of the past.
But the possibility of getting somebody disenfranchised is possible. If the process is laborious, it's very inhibitive, it's possible to get some demographics within the population disenfranchised.
I think the average voter is aware that we are not in normal times and that the process obviously is going to be a little longer than usual because, look, unlike previous elections, we didn't have COVID around our necks. So you just go there and in a few minutes, you are done with the registration. This time around, you are going to do the registration at the same time, observe the protocols of COVID-19. And that obviously would throw the time into an extra time. So people should embrace themselves for said things and then have patience that this is a civic duty and that they need to be patient and do it right.
Well, so we're getting our correspondent across, and let me just do the introduction. I have Natella Kwanza, and then also I have Ivy Setoji in the Volta region, and Nana Senso Mensah is also in the Ashanti region. We're getting all the updates. And, well, we started with, of course, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, but I want all of you to activate your sound. I think Ivy has hairs on. So let me start with you, Ivy Setoji. Where exactly are you? What have you been monitoring since morning? When I call your name, when I call or ask you a question, then you can activate your sound. So Nana Senso Mensah, can you just mute your sound? Oh, I think we'll do that from the back room. Ivy, where have you been? What have been the scenes you've monitored so far?
Well, I have been to the Abo polling station already, and the problem is hello, Roland, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I lost you in between. Can you just start for me?
So the problem we have in Aflawu in the second town is about social distancing. The second place side, this is people were seated on the bench, very close to each other, like the normal time. Some of them are wearing their face mask, but the social distancing, they are not observing. Some people are washing their hands. Currently, I am at the border where the place is being set up for the registration to start. A lot of people are here. They are in queue, standing in queue to get registered. So the main problem here in Aflawu is about the social distancing. People are not observing the social distancing in the city.
Oh, that's a great observation. We'll bring some health authorities in the discussion, I'm sure, later on. But where have you mapped out that you will visit ultimately, Ivy?
All right, so I'm in Texas now. I'll go to North. I'll go to Keka and Nanuga. And since I have a car, I will also go to Akati South and Akati North. So I'm literally going around the southern part of the Green family.
Well, so we'll keep you on. Just keep monitoring the situation for us. As and when we have to get on stream with you, we'll do that. Nana Senso, can you hear me? Well, Ivy, in Atalakwansa, where exactly are you? I see that I see a signpost of a chapel, Favor Chapel. Okay, where exactly are you, Ivy? In Atalakwansa.
Roland, I am at Shell filling station here in Takoradi. It's two registration centers here. We have Shell filling station 1 and 2. That's where I am.
Where you're covering, how many polling stations, how many registration centers are there, and do you intend to cover?
Roland, the number of registration centers has not been given yet, but where I am at the moment, there are 2 registration centers, Shell filling station 1 and 2. You can see from the video that a number of people have queued up here this morning, and so they are here to register.
How's it going so far by way of observing the protocols as already enshrined, but also advocated by the Electoral Commission?
Yes, so Roland, what you can see from the video, there is a Veronica bucket here with some soap and water over here. But the issue I am seeing here has to do with social distancing, because you can see from the way they are standing that there isn't enough distance, and that is from the Shell filling station A. When I take you to Shell filling station B, where we have a number of people in the queue, Roland, you can see that social distancing is not really being observed. Well, one thing they are doing, and then over here too, they have Veronica buckets with water in it. But so far with the Shell filling station A, the registration officer there tells me that they have been able to register 7 people from 7 a.m. to now.
There's a question about timing, but look, let me go to Nana Senso Mensah. Nana Senso Mensah, can you hear me? Ina will come to you later. Nana Senso, please unmute. Okay.
Hello, Roland.
Yeah, how's it going? I see that your temperature is being taken.
Yeah, David, you can see my temperature was just. Hello, Roland.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently here at the Tawhid Educational Complex, and my temperature was just checked by one of the police station officials. Over here, there are 2 there are 2 registration centers over here. Let's go inside. And then this is the main entrance of the registration center. Fortunately for these people, or for this place, the whole area is walled. So there is one entrance to this particular registration center. So let's go inside. Let me show you how it is. Let's go. No, wait. No. So over here, I'm sure that I've been already. Let's go. So over here, there are 2 registration centers. There are Veronica buckets here. Please. And that's show us accreditation. You have to wash your hands over here before you are able to join the queue. And then, as I said earlier, there are 2 registration centers over here. One is down there, and the other is here. So the registration process just commenced, like some 5 minutes ago. So as you can see, let's go here. There are 10 spots demarcated over here to ensure that the social distance protocol is adhered to. So they come in batches. The first 10 batch comes, and then they will just be at the spot. And then come closer. You can see that the 10 spots are here to ensure that the social distancing protocol is adhered to. So what I can say is that in the Asumase constituency, this is the only constituency owned by the NDC within the Kumasi metropolis. So when it comes to election, tension is really, really over here. So we are praying that going forward from today to the next 5 days, everything will be calm and peaceful. But before getting here, I've made some rounds to some of the registration centers. But over there, they had not already started because it was quite early. But this place, they just began like some 10 minutes ago. So this is what is going on over here, Roland.
the time, how is it like? How long does it take for you to come stand in that social distance queue and ultimately get to register? Have you been able to measure the time or perhaps gauge the time for?
Yeah, Roland, the time interval is like 2 to 5 minutes. Each applicant spends like 2 to 5 minutes, and then so it really moves faster. I'm hoping that the registration machines and other devices going forward will be okay and smooth to ensure that stampede is not created at the main entrance of the whole building. Because if the stampede creates over there, I'm sure the social distancing and other protocols might not be adhered to. So over here, as you asked earlier, the queue really moves faster than people might be thinking that maybe it's a slow-paced movement. No. We can see. Let's get to that. We can see one lady sitting over there to ensure that his name is registered to the road. And all the people over here are really wearing the mask, as you can see on your screens. All of them are in mask. The security man at the post will ensure that without mask, you don't get access into this building. So this is one of the registration center within this building. Let's go. There's another registration center down there too. So when you come here, it's either you register here or you go down there and register. That is what is going on here in Roland.
Yeah. Well, make sure you charge your devices very well. You're in for a long day. Well,
sure, Roland. You do that.
Get a battery backpack along, but we'll still have to remain.
So I have a backpack here, so I have my extra batteries.
Very good, very good, very good. Nana Sensu-Mensah, they're doing some great work and helping us, but we have to go to Ohim Interior before we get to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Ohim Interior is coming to us live from somewhere in Kumasi as well. Good morning to you, Ohim Interior.
Good morning, Roland.
I see that you're maintaining some social distancing there. Where are you? Are you at the Sokoban village or where are you exactly? I can see some wood.
Yes, sir, Roland.
But what have you observed so far, Ohimi?
Okay, Roland, it's been a smooth exercise here in the Ejoso constituency. We are reaching you from the Ejoso Besiase Sakura Park. A while ago, I spoke to the municipal electoral officer, Edward Jenfi, who told me with the 17 registration centers in this constituency, things have been moving on smoothly. And we've also been observing how things are being done at this particular registration centers. In the Ejoso constituency, there are 17 registration centers, and 6 of them are located in Besiase. So we've been monitoring how these 6 centers are going. The process is that immediately you enter the registration center, then you are taken through the procedure. The procedure is that first you wash your hands with water and soap, and then after that you join the queue. And with this procedure, the elderly or the aged are given a special dispensation. The dispensation here is that those who are strong, the youth, the line, they would register one in the queue, and then the elderly ones will also have another 10 to also register 2 of them. And then your temperature is also taken here. So first you wash your hands, you ensure social distancing protocols are adhered to, then your temperature is checked before you are allowed to join the queue. And the electoral officers, the registration officers said, they told me they haven't experienced any hiccup here. Everything is going on smoothly here. So I would say in the Ejoso constituency, it's been an incident-free for now, as it stands now, Roland.
There are related issues about time, and I kept asking a couple of our colleagues who I talked to earlier. Have you been able to gauge the time when you start the process and ultimately you get to have an outcome?
Yes, even before 7 a.m., the registration officers were here and people had already formed the queue here. So they started on time. There hasn't been any challenge with their time here as far as the process is concerned in the Ejoso constituency. So I'll say yes, they started on time as stipulated by the Electoral Commission, 7 a.m. on the dot. They started and the process has been smooth so far.
how long does it take for somebody to complete the process? And because that will ultimately get to reflect on how many people are able to...
Let me find out from my man here. How long does it take for somebody to complete the registration process?
At least 5 minutes, they are done. Roughly by 5 minutes, they are done. Sure.
5 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it could be lesser than that.
I know in some instances where we've gone, for instance, when the biometric machines were introduced initially, there were problems with people fingerprints not being able to detect by the biometric machine. How is it going here?
As for this place, everything is smooth. Everything is on point. The data clerk is very good. So we've not encountered such challenge here.
All right. Help me with your identity, sir.
With my identity, Samuel Osiji Tunkruma, Assistant RO.
All right. So, Roland, you heard from the Assistant Registration Officer here telling us the maximum time anybody can spend here is 5 minutes. In some instances, it's even less than that. And we can attest to it, to the fact that, yes, people who have been in this queue haven't spent so much time here. You come and as quick as possible, the process is done, and then you can go back to your duties. So I'll say, yes, it's been a smooth process. Though it's an early days yet, maybe we are yet to experience any challenge, but I'll say right from the beginning till now, it's been a smooth process. The EC hasn't recorded any incident, especially in the Ejoso constituency where I'm reporting from. So I'll say it's been an incident-free, Roland.
Yeah. We're supposed to be having party agents there. Are they there?
Yes, the political party agents are here. They are providing the needed assistance to the Electoral Commission. So as you can see from this desk, this is where they have been operating. What they do is that after each of the expectant registers, voters have registered, then they also take the details, put the details down in their log books to ensure that these exercises, what the names that they have also tally with what the Electoral Commission officers also have. So yes, the agents are here. And a while ago, I also saw the security officer here, policeman here. I'm told they are doing this registration in 6 centers here. So the officer who was here has also left to speak to some other colleagues at a nearby center. So I'll say everything is set and the process has been smooth so far.
Let's see how it goes. Well, Ohiminteri, I just keep monitoring the situation for us. There are other questions we want to ask, but again, early days yet. So as you put it, we'll try and get them subsequently in the programming, but also on other programming after the end. So, but Martina Bugri, I see that you're all matched up. You're sure. In good stead. Where have you been so far? How has it been for you since morning? Martina? Well, we're having... so let's go to Fred Pamiasari instead. Fred, where exactly are you?
I am at the Calvary Baptist Registration Center, where I should say that at about 10 voters have already gone through the process. When I got here, I counted about 40 prospective registrants who have queued up waiting for their turn. I should also say that here at the Calvary Baptist Registration Center, the observance of the COVID-19 safety protocols is strictly underway. The persons who have come to queue to register are queued up in their numbers. You should see that where the seats are placed, there are distances between them so that they only have contact with each other. There's also a Veronica bucket here where everybody who visits the center is allowed to wash his hands before seated. And then also all people who came to the registration center here were also screened. They had their temperatures checked to ensure that they don't have symptoms of COVID-19. So I should say that the process here at the Calvary Baptist said registration center is ongoing smoothly. It takes about 5 to 8 minutes for a prospective registrant to go through the process.
And Martina Bugre is joining us. Martina, you are in Tamale, but where exactly are you? What have you monitored so far?
I am at the 4 Village Registration Center. I must say that the process that was due to start at 7 started after 7, and so they started around 7:30. As at 7:40, just one person had registered. And so speaking to the people here, they are worried that with the slow process the day has started, they might end up not getting the 100 people per a day as expected. One other thing is the protocols for health protocols are totally breached. People are in queues without nose masks. Nobody's here to take temperature of anybody before you join the queue. There's no water for washing of your hands. And so for here at the 4 center, the health protocol totally breached.
At what point in time were we expecting the officials of the Electoral Commission then to make sure they intervened?
The process, what the regional EC director told us yesterday was, with our nose masks, we're not going to be allowed into the center in the first place or join the queue. So once you come into the center without a nose mask, you are not supposed to be allowed to join the queue. But that is not what is happening right now.
But ultimately, it means that something will be restored. Do you see any end in sight to this? That there's some intervention going to be undertaken by the Electoral Commission officials to make sure that they adhere to the protocols?
Nothing at all is being done. One of the registrars told me he approached them and asked why they were not adhering to the protocols. They were not ensuring that the protocols were being observed. And what they could tell him was that they would look into it. But after we speak now, nothing has been done. When I met them, they said they were busy. They had just come, and so they will not be able to speak.
Dr. Asante, before we go to some of our correspondents or back to them, were we expecting this, that protocols will not be followed in some regard? Can you unmute, Dr. Asante?
Yes, I expected that, because if you look at the MPP primaries, we got a sense of what was going to happen. And that, yes, in some of the places, they observed the protocols, other places, they threw the protocols to the wind, and especially when they were declaring results and all that. In this case, I was expecting a similar situation here, and it has really come to pass. We want the National Health, we want the Electoral Commission and then the health authorities to be able to make sure that these things are done without the breach of the protocols, because there's no point going to register only to go home and get infected and die or get sick. No, we don't want that situation. And that is why the Electoral Commission has taken time to walk its officers through the procedures of the COVID-19 protocols. So we expect them to enforce them now that they are the centers. They have to make sure that they enforce them rigidly without fear or favor. That is the only way out.
Well, Peter Senu, you're somewhere in the OT region. Where exactly are you? Peter, can you unmute? Peter Senu?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, where are you in the OT region? Where exactly?
Well, I'm in the KJV district of the OT region. This is the St. Anthony's registration center, where registration has just started. It's a rainy weather, but registrants are trooping in to get their names onto the electoral roll this morning. Earlier, I have been at the Church of Pentecost registration center, where there is a bit of technical issue that technicians are working on the machine to get the registrants their names onto the electoral roll. But currently, I'm at the St. Anthony's complex. I'll be moving from here to other centers to have a feel of what exactly is happening on the ground. But in the Oti region here, it's a rainy weather, but registrants are defying the weather to get their names onto the roll.
The protocols, apart from what you're saying, we got Martina Bugri expressing worry that there were would-be voters who were not just observing without the intervention of even the Electoral Commission officials. Do you see that happening in your location currently? I could see 1 or 2 people not wearing nose masks at least.
No. Okay, well, that is one of the officials. I guess he is checking the temperature of one man trying to enter, but a lot of them here are in their nose mask. I can report. He is the only one I can point at not being in the nose mask. I can also see the Veronica Bucket provided hand washing facility here. And, well, virtually everyone here, he has the nose mask, though. I think it's on his neck, just about that. But everyone here is in the nose mask and, well, a bit of social distancing, not too much of a space to, the 6 feet cannot be observed here. Already informed me that it's a rainy weather. And so if you want to go safely by the 6 feet, it means that people would have to be in the rain. And so they are managing with their nose mask on, and everything, as I can observe, is on course. And everything is okay here this morning.
Well, let's go back. Do we still have Ohim Interior, or do I have Nana Senso? And that's Peter Senu from KJB. But I have Anas. Anas, I haven't come to you. The Electoral Commission is telling us that social distancing is going to be observed. What I see behind you looks to be a bit chaotic. Well, perhaps I'm wrong. You paint the picture for me.
Roland, I am in Techiman, in the Techiman South constituency of the Bono East region. Of course, the exercise is ongoing here. We have up to 20 electoral areas having their registration today. I mean, starting today. The rest will start on the 7th of July. Of course, here at the CMB polling station, as you can see, I have there's the provision. They provided Veronica buckets for hand washing, their hand washing protocols. There are health officials here who are taking temperatures of registrants or people who come in here to vote. Almost all the protocols have been observed, but what is worrying here had to do with the social distancing protocol. That has been completely ignored here. There's no attempt whatsoever for the people who are here to register to observe the social distancing protocols as instructed by the Electoral Commission. I tried engaging authorities here, but here we have 3 different polling stations that are carrying out the registration, and they are finding it difficult to control the crowd in terms of observing the social distancing protocol. So that is the most worrying development here as at now. With the exception of that, all the people I've seen here are all in their nose masks. They are being instructed to wash their hands when they get here, and the health officials are also taking their temperatures before they are allowed access to the registration center. The social distancing has been completely ignored here.
Look, if we need the intervention of the Electoral Commission officials, then it means that we have to be seen doing that. Have you seen and observed so far that they are doing that?
At a point, they tried coming in, but the worrying development is that there's only one, I've seen only one police officer here manning the 3 polling stations, I mean the registration points. So one police officer taking care of all this crowd is something that is impossible from my observation. Moments ago, I saw the military also getting here to monitor, and then they've also left. So trying to control the crowd, the EC officials here told me it is a difficult task for them, and I don't know if there is any attempt to invite more hands in terms of the security, be able to man the place and then ensure that the distancing protocols are being observed.
Let's see how it goes. But ultimately, the point is that we need to get to the related registration centers and get to know whether these observations are being made. Fred Kwame Asare, the Electoral Commission told us that at least approximately 7,000 health officers, so to speak, will be deployed at some of these centers. Have you seen a health officer? Have you asked whether there's a health officer to observe?
Well, at the moment, I've not been able to ask if there's a health officer here to observe the registration exercise. But then also, like I mentioned earlier, I spotted one man who is going around screening people. He has a thermometer gun where he takes the temperature of people who have come here to get their names registered. And then also, there's also a Veronica bucket station here for registrants or persons who visit the center to register to wash their hands and ensure that they don't infect others in case they have the virus.
Anas, have you seen a health officer? We were told by the electoral commissioner that we're going to have, or the chairperson, if that is more appropriate, that we're going to have health officers or a health officer at where you are. Have you seen a health officer? Anas? We seem to have lost Anas there. Dr. Asare, we expect some of these things. Our past experiences have shown that we don't always seem to get it right. We're quite slow, almost like the Black Star football team. We're slow in starting the tournament. And we're witnessing some of these things. The promises are made, but the deployment and then getting them up to speed become the difficulty.
Yes, I think some of the problems can be attributed to
well, we seem to have lost Anas, can I get you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. Where in the locality that you're currently monitoring or scouting, do we have more registration centers?
This is one of the areas we're expecting more people to register, the Abanimu electoral area. And of course, earlier you asked if there are health officials on the grounds. Of course, the man right behind me here is a health official. He is carrying his thermometer gun in his hands, and of course, he is one of three. I told you this. We have 3 polling stations here. So each polling station had has a health officer attached to it to take care of the temperatures of people who are coming in to vote. I've also seen 2 more police officers coming in to support the one I told you about earlier. So now we have about 3 police officers here, each man in 1 polling station or registration point. And from the look of things, they are now trying to get some ropes and then barricade the area to prevent people from getting in without being invited into the place. So by so doing, they might be able to take care of the social distancing protocols. But for now, this is what we are seeing here. And lots of people are coming. You know, the registration started moments ago. And from the look of things, this place is going to be one of the areas that is going to be difficult to control. But we are told more officers have been invited in terms of security to check the situation.
Why is it difficult to observe the social distancing and even do the control based on what you've observed, not only so far, but knowing the area?
In fact, they told me there are 3 registration centers. It would have been easier if it is 1 registration center here. So once there are 3, people come in and, you know, when it gets to elections, they want to know where their names are. They have to be informed that this is a fresh registration, and so you'll be able to register at any. After all, it all forms under 1 electoral area. So there's no worry as in my vote will be pushed to another area or something like that. So that education didn't go down well with the people. And contrary to what the EC told us, as in there will be the provision of markings on the grounds, distancing registrants, those who come in. There is nothing close to that here. In fact, the place is just open. They've provided some few chairs, and so those who got in here early are given the chairs to sit on. Those who are now coming in do not have the sitting place, so they just stand anywhere without the markings the EC promised to provide. So that is one of the reasons why observing the social distancing here is quite a Herculean task. Apart from that, they are ensuring that those who come here without the nose mask are being asked to go back, and they are also informed to strictly wash their hands with soap and running water, which is being provided. All the registration centers, the 2 of them, have different Veronica buckets plus tissue papers, and then soap. Also, hand sanitizers are also here. But yet again, people are just standing anywhere they find space and waiting for the registration to get on to their turn, so they'll be able to register.
We'll see how that goes with you. Ultimately, that's a nice bit there. Make sure that you have the backpacks for you to recharge your phones. It's going to be a long day for all of us right here on the field. But Dr. Asah-Asante, we're seeing some of these sporadic reports of non-observance of the protocols, etc. At what point in time do you think that the district, the municipal, if not the metropolitan and the regional EC heads need to step in and make sure that the sanity that is prevailing?
We need them now to come in and deal with this situation. I don't understand why the security will allow people who have nose mask to go in, only to go there and also disobey some of the protocols. They go there and they don't observe the social distancing protocols and all that. I don't understand that. I also don't understand why the Electoral Commission will allow the Electoral Commission officers will allow people to go in and register without without observing these rules. It is not the best. I think the EC in the various places that we have concerned must step up their game. The security people must also support the effort. The health service must also get onto the ground and let us see action.
Well, we're bringing to you live report of the start of the new registration exercise being conducted by the Electoral Commission. Just speaking to me is Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, a senior political science lecturer with the Department of Political Science and University of Ghana. But we have deployed reporters across board, various regions, registration centers. And I have to keep you up to speed. Over 33,000 registration centers across Ghana. We do have 8,000 of these kits that have been deployed. Over 7,000 health officials were told should have been deployed in many of these registration centers because the registration is being undertaken in phases. But according to the report we're getting this morning, it is just mixed in terms of the presence of these officials on one hand, the observance of the relevant social distancing protocols and other protocols relating to coronavirus or COVID-19 as enumerated weeks before now by the Electoral Commission. And we will need the intervention of the officers on ground, whether municipal, district, metropolitan, or regional officers of the various Electoral Commission directorates we have across the country to do the intervention so that we have to observe the needed protocol. One question that would always confront us is what's happening in the capital. That is Accra, and it's where we have Maxwell Agbagba in one of those centers. Maxwell, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Roland.
Where exactly are you? Before now, what have been your observation? But where exactly are you now first?
Okay, so Roland, we are in the Ododo-Dio constituency right now. And if you know the Ododo-Dio constituency, we all know that this is a potential hotspot. With the benefit of hindsight, with the events in 2012, April 2012, during the voter registration exercise, where some persons were prevented from taking part in the exercise. Here in the Ododo-Dio constituency, it's quite cosmopolitan, because if you go to a place like Kantamanto, for instance, you find Gan people there, you find Asante people there, you find Evers there. A lot of them who have come, to trade or to do business. So Kantamanto is more or less like a melting pot. But we know what happened in 2012. If you come here today, here at the City Engineers Registration Center, at 8 a.m. the registration has not started yet. At exactly 7:54, we saw the EC vehicle pull up here with the registration materials. But the registration has stalled here because some of the agents here, party agents here, and some concerned youth of this community are raising issues. The issues they are raising is that one of the registration centers, which is the Sacred Heart Technical and Vocational Institute, is not being used as a registration center. And they say that the Electoral Commission officials say that they are constrained with the voter registration devices. And this, we are yet to confirm from the Electoral Commission. We tried to speak to them, but they said we should hold on because there's going to be a meeting between the aggrieved parties. I want to take you inside and then speak to one of the aggrieved members. But another thing, that would happen shortly. But another thing I want you to take note here is whether the protocols here are being, adhered to. Yes, before you walk in there, I'm sure when the registration itself starts proper, the EC officials will ensure that all the protocol will be observed. But outside the precincts of the registration center, you can see for yourself that, people are very close. I've seen some of them in masks. There are others also, who are not, in their masks. Let's try and get close up and speak to some of them here. Let's find out from them what they make of the situation here. Chairman, good morning.
I can't speak anything, Chris. I'm begging
you. Can, okay. Well, he says he cannot speak. Chief, you'd also not talk.
Oh, we're just getting some breaks in the feed there, but we have to take you. And it's the Odododio constituency where Maxwell Agbagba is monitoring events there. But what we're doing this morning is to make sure that we're able to analyze the issues, get you the pictures, the live reports and the event has been narrated from the cameras and the screens of our own reporters out there. Maxwell Agbagba again getting that interaction, this time on ground, Odododio constituency. Well, we'll try and rectify the break in the feed, but it's where we take a break. When we come back, we want more of your comments. We'll go onto Facebook. We'll get to know what your responses have been to our feed. And then please make sure you touch base with us. myjoyonline.com is also available for you. But we have our YouTube channel, Joy News TV, live streaming, also on Facebook. We have our Twitter handle also activated. Get on it now. We're taking a break. We'll be right back. And you do know that we had a statement coming from the presidency, and ultimately it was issued by Director of Communications, Eugene Ahing, but it was on the Auditor General, has been asked to proceed on leave, apparently 123 days outstanding, but we just want to bring you some background relatedly to the Auditor General and where we are with his office. He was appointed and sworn in as the new Auditor General of Ghana on 30th of December 2016, just during the exit period of the last NDC administration. Now, this generated controversy of furor as preparations for John Mahama to hand over to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president were just underway. Now, following the change in government, he carried out a special audit that saw government save from honoring some 4.5 billion Ghana cedis in debts, we're told. And over the period, we've had a number of reports as well and some confrontations that have since moved on, because in 2018, the period of September, he petitioned the presidency accusing an appointee who was serving as board chair of the audit service, Professor Edward Duajma, a former Auditor General himself, of unlawful interferences and violations of his work. And we know that his office is backed by the Constitution, 1992 Constitution, but these were denied. And following that, the relationship has been strained. You will remember just December of last year, 2019, the senior minister sued the Auditor General, challenging a surcharge that one of his report or one of the officer's report had leveled on his office and him. He later cited Mr. Domelevo for contempt of court after he failed to respond to the case within some 14 days. Of course, we know what transpired at the courts. And he said, I've said this and I will repeat it, that once you fight corruption, corruption will fight you back, and it will fight you in a way that it can justifiably or unjustifiably. One notable quotes of the man who has been appraised and commended widely by civil society, anti-graft campaigners for being an astute person. Now, the president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, following the statement that we already know, says he's directed Mr. Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, to take his accumulated leave. And apparently, accumulating the numbers 123, the president's decision to direct Mr. Domelevo to take his accumulated leave is grounded in law, according to the statement. And it continued that, well, he hasn't taken his leave since. We know that Gifty Ando-Appiah had an interaction with the board chair, former Auditor General himself, D.I. Jemang, and we know what the responses have been. We'll bring you that, but let's get on to the streams and speak to Austin Game. He is a labor consultant, widely conversant with the structures of our labor law and how they work and what needs to be done. Let me first ask you, Mr. Game, what do you make of all this? Coming to a head just by the close of yesterday, the news day yesterday.
Good morning, my friend. I'm pleased you are asking me this question. I feel very sad that this thing is happening in our country, particularly because of the times and the seasons in which we find ourselves. Nonetheless, it has been done, and so we have to live with it and move forward. But generally speaking, by practice and the law, it's not supposed to be that way, but it's been done. I don't know whether they can revert it, but it's been done already.
What has been done? If you look at the statement, there are sections of law that has been quoted. It's backed by good regulation. That's justifiable.
Yeah, generally speaking, let me be very open and honest with your listeners that no one is expected to accumulate leave even for one day. The reason being that under the law, Section 31, which was rightly quoted, is void. That's exactly what we put there under Section 31. Now, at the beginning of the year, it's expected, like any company, be it private, public, or whatever, the HR department is supposed to put together leave roster that might be religiously followed, except the need arises that they will have to postpone your leave within the year, but which you have to take latest by 31st December of the same year. You are not supposed to carry your leave forward. That is the intent of what we put there under Section 31. So whoever will accumulate leave up to 123 working days, what it means is that the only one that can be credited to you will be for the year in which we live in now, let's say 2020. If anything at all, Mr. Domelevo can only have access to his 2020 leave. All the rest from 2017 to 2019 is actually forfeited. It's not supposed to be given to him again. So if you give it out, what it means is that you are causing us to lose money. So I don't know why he has not been taking his leave.
Okay. So if you don't take your leave, and I've gone through the regulation, it's sanctionable, right? There's a forfeiture, or you are asked to proceed for that annual year.
Yeah, you are not supposed to be forced to go on leave. You are supposed to take your leave. If you don't take it, you have forfeited it. But let me also say that the reasoning behind Section 31 is to enable us as a nation, as companies, to develop the skills of each and every one, because people, this body is a dying body. It can die anytime. If you die, someone must be there to do your work. And therefore, if you don't allow people to take their leave, you make people think gods. You make people look as though they are indispensable. So under the law, we are supposed to take our leave so that people's skills can be developed. So we have a fluid and a versatile working people that are available at any point in time. But to keep someone, I'm surprised to hear that we have a leave that today is the presidency that will have to order that the person will have to go on leave. That is inappropriate, but nonetheless, it's been done, and so we'll take it like that. And the precedence that is being referenced is what amazed me the more. Error is error. So we cannot today say that we should build an ark and let people who want to go to heaven go into the ark and go to heaven. It's Noah's Day's idea. So you can't bring a wrong thing that has been done during late Atamel's period into today. It's inappropriate. It's unacceptable.
In other words, you're saying even if Noah was still in existence today, if he wanted to save people from floods, definitely wouldn't have been using an ark.
Well, those people were supposed to be hidden and go to heaven, and you can't use that today. It's unacceptable.
Okay.
Today you have to get the Holy Ghost and go to heaven.
If the Auditor General, his employer, was supposed to then make him forfeit his outstanding, ultimately it means that this shouldn't have been effected. Is that it?
Precisely so. I mean, the leave is void. The language we use there, the last word under Section 38 is that you will consider your leave to be void if you don't take it. By 31st December this year, under normal circumstances, you are supposed to proceed on leave. If you don't go, your leave has become void, is forfeited to that employer. It means you are not willing to take it. If you are sick, there is a procedure you go through. If you are not available to do your work, it's a different ball game altogether, you know. But this is a completely different thing, and I don't know where it's coming from, but it sounds very strange to me.
There are fears that employers use this as an exit policy.
No, that is not the practice.
Okay.
It's not the practice. The practice is that you must take your leave. Look, it's only let's say this year, 2020, there is going to be a retirement for you, or then you proceed on leave and go on retirement. But if it's, let's say, a severance, then that leave that you have not taken, as a practice, HR will advise that they should encash it and pay to you because you are going anyway. But this one is not a severance exercise. It's also said that he should go and return to work also in the future. But that is not supposed to be the case. I'm speaking from a professional point of view. The politics aside, the issue is that if you have to go on leave, you must go on leave. If you will not go on leave, then it means you don't have leave days. It means you don't have it at all. So I don't know where this is coming from, but and it's 123 days, and the precedence is coming from the late Atamel's time. I wonder why it is so.
Well, we've been joined by Adam Senanu. He's an anti-corruption campaigner. Good morning to you also, Mr. Senanu.
Good morning to you too, sir.
And for you in anti-corruption in civil society, you view this as a veiled attempt, right? A veiled attempt to intrude into the Auditor General's actions or workings or office. Is that what I observe?
Well, we cannot say for certain. I mean, the briefing we are getting appears to suggest that the Auditor General does have the opportunity to decide how to take his leave. I mean, I think there's a constitutional element that allows him to do that. So we think that this is something that should have been discussed. It's strange to put it on the back of something that happened at a Mills time. In fact, a reference to that wasn't necessary at all. It just sets the tone for the kind of partisanship we don't want in this country. But critically, this is a strong leader. This is one of the few people who has demonstrated that every bone and fiber, whatever in him, is bent on making sure that this nation gets value. And so we will not discount the value, the expertise he brings to bear on that institution. And we are not in a hurry to say anybody should dispense of his services. If he needs to arrange to take some portion of his leave, let that be discussed. We think that the timing is not right, and we think that one should allow him, if he has to take the leave, to stagger it so that we can still benefit from what he has to offer.
Let me take you through to some writings from a lawyer and also somebody who has a CDD currently. We're talking Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, and he's very emphatic. He says that I find it interesting that the president and his lawyers would treat the relationship of the president to the Auditor General, an independent constitutional office holder, as some mundane employer-employee relationship regulated by everyday labor law, as opposed to a relationship of high substance and consequence mediated by the Constitution and the principles emanating from that document. The mere fact that the president appoints a certain constitutional office holder who, like every other occupant of a public office, is paid from public funds, does not thereby create between the two a simple employer-employee relationship in which the president is employer and the other the employee. Otherwise, what is to stop the president from ordering, say, a chief justice or an EC or a Shraj commissioner or chair to proceed on accumulated leave or do any other act that employers ordinarily can command their employers to do? What do you make of the statement?
I think Professor Prempeh very succinctly puts the concerns we have. One doesn't understand why, especially when those who speak for the people, civil society, we have consistently indicated that there is everything to show that this person champions the cause of the ordinary Ghanaian. He's not there because of one party or the other. The job he's doing is the kind of job that saves this nation millions of cedis. And so let's guard that relationship with a certain amount of respect that makes all of us feel comfortable that together with the government of the day, we are fighting corruption. It sends the wrong message when all of a sudden in an election year, this issue comes up and the legal framework doesn't actually support what is going on. One would have expected some, behind the scenes discussions, so that is the Auditor General himself who may have informed all of us that I have decided to do ABC. I think Professor Prempeh puts it into context for all of us.
Mr. Gabin, let me just put this to you. A good friend of mine just drew my attention to this, Dr. Ishmael Norman. And he says, Section 31 of the Labour Act says any agreement to relinquish the entitlement to annual leave or to forgo such leave is void. It means even accumulated leave days can be taken at any time that job taxonomy allows. What do you say to this?
Look, to be honest with you, you are not supposed to accumulate leave to start with. If you have to go and do a program somewhere, and it is in the interest of the organization you work for, you'll be permitted to go on that program. You don't need leave to take that, to do that program. So leave, the spirit behind having annual leave to be taken yearly is to enable each and everyone to go and have a good rest, have re-energize yourself and return to work. That is the intent behind this. When we're writing the law, we generated over 2,000 pages of information. It's not just Section 31, as you see there, that answers it. The spirit behind it is for each and everyone to go on leave. And if you go, people will be developed with time so that when tomorrow, if the level should retire or should even die, the next day, they will form a committee to take over his job, and somebody will take over the job. So we don't need to have somebody to hang around forever. And coming to talk about 123 days, and the order will be from the office of the president, this is a little, amazing. And also the fact that wrong reference have been made. That is perhaps the most grievous part of the whole thing. If they were saying that you must arrange to take your leave, and they will arrange it in such a way that he would even take it, even though it's error still. Saying is that sit on leave and even return in the future. I didn't read that he is supposed to proceed and then go on retirement. He might return in the future. And then the reference is to the late Atamil's time when someone else was made to go. I think that is where the problem is. It shouldn't have been referenced at all. Let's assume it's a mistake and it should not be repeated by anybody in this country again. But it's wrong. It's wrong, completely.
All right, we have to end the conversation, but let me give you the last word, Mr. Senanu. So this one, you anti-corruption campaigners view it as show of power?
No, we don't know how to describe it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's surprising. And I think many people have been concerned about who is advising the presidency. What kind of consultations are going on there? Because this is not the kind of route one expects the presidency to take. And from our perspective, yes, Mr. Domelevo is not indispensable. I mean, one should make sure we're building institutions so there's somebody who can take over, etc. But the manner in which we handle these things sends a message. And from the anti-corruption perspective, this is not a very healthy message because we think it could have been organized in a much better way, especially given the constitutional clauses we are aware of. So the presidency may want to take a look at it again. I'm glad Mr. Domelevo has not rushed to be in the public space speaking. That allows a certain amount of integrity and decency. We are hoping that discussions can continue. Let's see what will come out of this. But at this point, the ideal situation should have been that, assuming there is accumulated leave that he can still take, we would have wanted a situation where one is staggering it, because at this point, it would seem to send the message that we want him out of the way so that, I mean, other things can happen. The timing and everything is not good enough. That may not be the case, but we think we can do much better as a country.
We'll see how that goes. Well, it means that he's taking 1/3 of the year off. That's okay. And thank you very much, Austin Game, Labour consultant, and then also Adam Senanu, anti-corruption, anti-graft campaigner. And we're hoping that we'll have some greater conversation on this subject. But in the meantime, we're bringing to you a live coverage of the registration that is ongoing across the country. Already we're getting the reports from our correspondent that social distancing is not being observed. We also don't have the Electoral Commission officers enforcing it as we were told or were promised. And then those health assistants that we needed at these registration centers have so far not been cited by our reporters, at least at the centers that we have been. But that's where we take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you more right here on the show.